And also, if I could just address the surveillance or camera systems question as well. We do have some systems on campus, and you may have seen them in other resident halls or in other places on campus. And typically, to be honest with you, they're not going to be useful in this kind of scenario. What we find they're useful for is to keep vandalism and those kinds of acts down when people do destructive things to our buildings and to our campus. We're able to deter that if they know there's camera systems. Random or isolated violent acts are seldom deterred by those systems because they don't have the kind of coverage, as Ray said. They wouldn't cover the street area, or they may not cover areas on campus that might be vulnerable to those things. But it is something that long-term we look at on a routine basis, and we weigh the costs associated with those systems with the potential risk that we may have without them. It's a good question.
I don't know. I might have zoned out. Anyways, do you guys know when you would get the lighting up? Like within the month, or like how long would that take? Because I mean, if it's at the end of semester, like that doesn't really do any good. You know what I mean? And I don't think that would make anyone feel safer anyway.
I think what I will I have to investigate it a little bit more in terms of how quickly we can. So I don't want to give you a timeline. But we were able to get some new lighting in front of Wallace within probably a few weeks of me having the discussion with my staff. So I think we could do it rather quickly, but I need to talk to my staff and then talk to facilities about making that happen. I mean, just walking in tonight, I could see where a couple lights right in front of the building probably would honestly make it a lot more safe and comfortable just for you all walking back to the building. And so, honestly, I was trying to think of real tangible things that might make you all feel safer. Because I think my concern is that while a camera may make you feel safer, it's really not going to do much to deter that from happening. So we're trying to find solutions that actually help the situation. So once I have a timeline for you, I will make sure that you all hear about it when we get lighting.
So as you said, the cameras are useful for, or can be useful for acts of vandalism or for people who stick around for longer than just a few seconds. And within the past couple of weeks, we have had an act of vandalism and an attempted break-in. So I feel the camera, at least at the entrance, would prove to be extremely useful.
And honestly, we did talk about the possibility. In Wallace right now, we've got them on a lot of floors. We've got them in some of the public areas. In the LLCs, we've got them on most of the doors. I think we can tell you that we can probably get a camera up here at the door and probably in a couple of the public spaces. And I think we can do that rather quickly as well. I again don't think it's probably going to prevent what happened last night, but yeah, the vandalism that occurred a couple weeks ago, we probably could prevent that. Probably not necessarily prevent it, but we could identify the perpetrator then, or better have the chance to.
Have there been other incidents of vandalism or violence in other residence halls, or is this kind of just a magnetic place for those things?
Yeah.
Well, there is a certain amount of vandalism that occurs on campus, not necessarily at resident halls, but there's quite a bit of graffiti. There is some, what I would say, not serious vandalism, but occasionally broken windows or people want to gain access to areas, building, rooftops, etc., that it takes a little bit of ingenuity and vandalism to get to, and so we have those occasionally, but we don't experience the violent acts, and if we did, you would hear about them just like we've all heard about this one well outside of our campus area, because we do think this is a very safe campus. So, yeah. Dave is here.
Yeah, Dave Lemons from Moscow PD is here to give folks just an update on what's going on with the investigation.
Sure. Unfortunately, I don't have a lot to add. I know most of you guys have probably seen the officers here today and probably talked to some of them yourselves. Right now, we don't have really any more information than we had this morning. So, anybody is asked to come forward with information. I think somebody probably knows who did this, so hopefully someone will come forward and do the right thing. Do you guys have any questions?
Have you identified the type of vehicle that drove by or the weapon used?
The weapon was a .45 caliber. So we know that because of the shell casing that was recovered.
Okay.
At least that's what I was told, it was a .45 caliber shell casing. So,
Okay.
as far as the vehicle, no.
Okay.
I mean, there's an SUV sitting across right now. It's a little Toyota.
Yeah.
So. And we're not even sure if that was the vehicle that was used or that's where the shot came from. Don't know. Because I don't know who reported it if they're in the room tonight, but you hear the shot, it takes 2 or 3 seconds to get up to the window, and you see a white vehicle drive by. Is that the vehicle that did the shooting, or is that the vehicle that was behind it, or going the other way? Don't know. Anything else?
If you guys have questions, now's the perfect time. You have this huge group of people. Let your concerns be heard, Like, this is your home. Or at least what you're saying. Potentially on the food something. Thanks.
I hate to dominate the conversation. I was just curious. I know I got the email about the shooting at around 10:30 this morning, and I didn't know why it took as long as it did to get that email when the incident occurred at 11:30 the night before.
I can address that. As you know, the police responded last night, campus security responded last night, a lot of your housing personnel responded. The view at the time was that this was an isolated incident and that it didn't represent any kind of continuous or ongoing threat. So the decision was made to wait till today.
So, what makes you think that it's not an ongoing threat? Just the fact that it didn't hit anyone, or just like
No. Well, a couple of things, and Dave, please feel free to chime in. One of the things is that with the curtains closed, it seems clear that no individual was targeted because they wouldn't have been able to see an individual. Secondly, there was nothing to indicate, no evidence to indicate that there was an ongoing threat. Doesn't mean that there couldn't have been. It just means that the view at the time last night was that it was isolated. Good, very good question.